It is CJ McCollum and Robert Covington for Ben Simmons and George Hill. I think that this is the trade that's going to happen. Maybe not I probably would prefer LaVine. Like, if we're saying, like, what notification gets me more excited, CJ McCollum and Covington for Ben and Hill, or just Zach LaVine for Ben Simmons, it's probably Zach LaVine for Ben Simmons. But if we're saying, like, you guys seem to think that we would have to attach a lot to Ben Simmons to get to Zach LaVine, I would probably just rather take CJ McCollum and Robert Covington. And the reason I think it's so likely is because CJ McCollum for Ben just makes so much sense. I had CJ for Ben initially, but I actually think that we might have a little bit of the leverage there. Like, I think that, and maybe that's what the report was today, that Portland wouldn't trade McCollum. If anything, I think Portland would have to attach a little bit to get to Ben Simmons' value. And I think that CJ McCollum and Robert Covington for Ben Simmons and George Hill makes so much sense for both teams. And I think Robert Covington replaces that perimeter defense that you're leaving with Ben, and CJ McCollum gives you that number one scorer in the fourth quarter, in my opinion, that we can have. I think CJ McCollum has the absolute ability to take a leap when he's on his own team as the main guard on a team. Someone said CJ is another question mark like Tobias. CJ with Lillard went to the Western Conference Finals, making just as many clutch shots as Lillard was making. I think McCollum's awesome.
Yeah, I personally love CJ McCollum. I've loved him for the past 3 years. I think for the past 3 years, I've been like, he would fit perfectly on this team. I will say also, to people who a big question I've seen from him about him is how does he play when he's not playing with another high gravity scorer like Damian Lillard? And we've seen at points where Dame is injured, I can't remember when it was exactly. I feel like it might have been the bubble, or was it this year?
I think it was this year.
We've seen at times when Dame has not been able to play that CJ is more than capable of stepping up as the primary ball handler and also the primary scorer of this team. He is a guy that he's another guy. I said something about Lonnie Walker earlier. Go watch CJ McCollum's highlight reels. Go watch. He's a guy who his highlights aren't flashy per se, but he is very, very efficient, and he can make shots at every level. He can hit his deep threes. He can hit basically anywhere from the mid-range. He has a floater on both hands. He can score around the rim, can make shots with contact, can hit shots in people's faces, hit step backs, hits fadeaways, hits sidestep threes. He's just a guy who's a bucket getter. He is a straight bucket getter. Now, the one thing I think you could say is I don't know about his playmaking as much. I don't know how great of a playmaker he is. I haven't watched that part of his game very closely. But I'm sure he is a capable playmaker. Being that at times he is on ball when Dame is on the floor as well with him. I think he's another guy that if you trade away Ben and you end up having a lineup of Maxey and CJ, I think that could be really, really interesting, especially if you have a Maxey, CJ, and Danny Green lineup. Alongside if you were able actually let me think about this. If you did this trade, if it was a CJ and Covington for Ben and Hill trade, does Covington come off the bench on this roster? Because I personally think he does.
It doesn't. I don't. Who knows? Him or Danny probably do. But
I think Danny's just a guy you keep in the starting lineup for just because he's Danny Green.
Because of a far better player than Danny Green. But I think
you're muted, Dibs. Oh, never mind. We just couldn't hear you for a second. Go ahead.
Probably Danny Green.
Because I think if you in the bench lineup, then you probably at this point have Shake run the 2 if you're not signing Furkan back. You'd have Cove at the 3 or the 4. I don't know what do you? I don't. That may be too much speculation.
Yeah, that's part of his appeal. When you're losing Ben Simmons, you're losing a guy that can cover 3s and 4s if we need to. So Robert Covington, while we have Matisse, and then also Tobias, would be our 3 candidates to cover those types of players.
And to be fair, Trey Murphy's going to be doing that next year for the
Jarvis. CJ is 28 right now, turning 29. And
then also, I just wanted to say this. CJ has a lot of questionable playoff games. He averages 21 in his career in the playoffs on 45-40 shooting. He also averaged really good numbers this year in the playoffs. So like,
and you gotta think that's also playing alongside Damian Lillard that like he's getting most of the shots. But I can promise CJ is clutch. Like CJ is a clutch player. He gets buckets and he gets them efficiently. Portland is a team that I do watch a good amount because I love watching Damian Lillard play. And I can tell you what, CJ is a lot of fun to watch as well. And I think it's crazy that you're saying CJ does not move the needle. I think CJ does move the needle on this team, especially next to a guard like Tyrese Maxey.
And also, CJ McCollum is not injury prone. He missed time this year. The 6 years before this year, he played pretty much full seasons. Like, he's not injury prone.
You know what the entire take of this whole podcast is? Is there not a more important player right now than Tyrese Maxey developing into his second year? Like, we're all like banking on it. We are banking on
if you were trading Ben Simmons, you have to bank on that. But I do think Tyrese Maxey, just the way he's built, like genuinely, just like, and I know this might sound a little bit like cliche, but he is one of the hardest. Like, there is a very good reason why every player on that Sixers roster comes out and says he is probably the hardest worker on this team. Like, that doesn't come lightly. Like, he literally, like, and I understand, like, Jimmy Butler, hardest worker, da 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 da. Like, I get it. Like, I get, like, it's very cliche and it's very, like, everyone's a hard worker in the NBA. Most people that are good in the NBA. But, like, to have a rookie that's that hard of a worker and that's that into the game and somebody who has the potential that he does in the pick and roll, like, what's his, because Dibs, I know a lot of times you have this information off the top of your head. Wasn't Tyrese Maxey had one of the most like promising numbers when it comes to like getting to the rim, like drives to the rim?
Oh my god, his drives to the basket numbers, finishing through contact numbers were out, like literally top elite numbers.
Yeah, and those kinds of players tend to be some of the best scorers and best guys in the league as their careers go on. Like, look at James Harden. When he was in, and mind you, I'm not comparing Tyrese Maxey to James Harden and what he is now, but look at James Harden when he was with OKC in the beginning of his career, with how good he was getting to the rim and like in that sense. Like, to me, I feel like Tyrese Maxey is going to be a good player in the NBA. I really do.
Sorry.
You're good.
CJ did not fold in the Denver series. He averaged 22 on efficient shooting. Like, he didn't score less than 18 in a game in the series. He scored between 18 and 22 in every game. Like, he did not fold. He was not the reason they lost the series. Portland's
and you also have to remember that he is not the focal point of that offense.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap this up soon, but that is my trade. Like, CJ McCollum, Robert Covington for Ben, George Hill. That is where I'm stamping that's where it is. And this is the roster. This is how it would look with that trade. And I had Covington in the starting lineup because I think Covington is a light years better player than Danny Green. But I have Tyrese Maxey, CJ McCollum, Robert Covington, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. And then off the bench, you have Seth Curry, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed, and then whatever you want to keep Dwight. You want to bring in a different backup big for the mid-level and minimum. And by the way, this might literally knock you off your chair. Considering I'm saying let's do this trade. CJ and Cov, Ben and Hill. Bring back Dwight. How about that?
You love Dwight.
For anyone who does,
my only problem was Ben. My only problem with Dwight was
Ben. Comments right now who's not aware, Mark has been a complete and utter hater of Dwight Howard this whole season.
I was right, by the way. I mean, he was like a -15 in 3 different games in that Atlanta series, but whatever, whatever.
I'm not gonna lie. Like,